Hey everyone, I'm doing a behind the scenes of a commission I've been working on, and my wife has done an amazing job doing animation for me. I just haven't had the time to animate this one, but she stepped up to the plate and animated this for me as we worked with our client. It's been really awesome. She did a great job. So I just wanted to run some things down and show you kind of the process and how everything kind of came about. Um, yeah, if that's cool. It's something a bit different. It's not a follow up to my next video planned, which will be making an anime, but this kind of is a nice introduction, and I'll show you how I'm gonna comp this and everything. So our client wants to make like a Twitch sticker animated GIF, and right now we have it like this. So I will show you the rough first and clip. So we're working in Clip Studio Paint here, but I'll be exporting this to OpenTunes to Homa 2D to do the comp. All right, so here's the rough that she did. Really cool. So you can kind of see her process this way. I work very similarly, but this is what she's done. These are her drawings. These are her sketches and everything like that. Very cool. So afterwards, we have this little emblem that pops up. From what I understand, I'm not too familiar with the Pokemon stuff, but it pops up in the Pokemon stuff. Here is the animation. Really cool to see it come together. So the plan is to kind of base it off a meme and make it like the lock-in meme. So right here, I got to throw in the edit kind of a panning image of this. I might have to separate the head out in export, and I'll show you kind of my process for that. A lot of times I personally color and do a lot of the cleanup in OpenTunes, but she did everything here in Clip Studio Paint. Both are perfectly fine, but OpenTunes does have a really nice auto tweening, kind of like you would use in rigs, but it's like point animation in Moho, if anyone's familiar with that. So the emblem comes up, which is what our client provided, and we just have this kind of masked clipped to the logo here, and all she did was motion tween it. So you could see here the green motion tween, which you can do in Clip Studio Paint. You can do that in Clip Studio Paint now, which is really cool. Updated a while ago, but yeah, it was, these kind of updates have made things a lot easier, especially when you are doing stuff. And if the animators can do it, like if you're working in a team or something, the animators can do it, is great. It makes it easier for us in comp, but you can do this in comp as well. I'm really glad she did it here. I probably will beef it up in comp. One really interesting thing is, so if you look at the line work, we have aliased lines. So these aliased lines are what you see here. That's how you can color without having to deal with feathering. You get this kind of border if you deal with that. I can show you an example. This is why you don't want to work with anti-aliasing. See that? And like a lot of people would manually go in and paint it. But in anime pipeline, that's not how we work. We work with the jagged lines that you see here. Jagged lines. Fill it in. And then in comp, we'll smooth it. You can, if you don't have access to a compositing program, you can go and clip, if you have like something like Clip Studio, you can add it. But Blender has it, and so does OpenTunes. And I'll show you how to do that in OpenTunes. Really, really useful. Everything else. So Clip Studio has a really nice export for animation where you can export the animation cells or the image sequence. So in anime, they actually export the cells out again, even though it's timed out animated, like by the animators. They'll go in again and time everything out in After Effects, and it's just a lot of extra work for the compositors. However, for myself, a lot of times I just export the image sequence, although that can make the file a little bit bigger. If you have a weaker computer, you might want smaller files, so you might want to do it the anime way where you have to retime it out again. But I probably will export all this just as an image sequence, make it simpler for myself, especially that this isn't a really big project where I need to do something like that. So I've loaded it in and we're ready to go. So all I did was just import the PNG sequences. This is a great way to look at it. So this is kind of the old OpenTunes look a little bit with the columns going down like this. But if you want to anti-alias your project so we can see it here. We can look at the render view here, and we can add level settings. In level settings, we can add anti-aliasing. So add anti-aliasing, and let's say 100. I find that always looks really nice. Oops. White is transparent, is like, because a lot of times if you, again, you're working with cells and things like that, and you have a white background like paper, you can turn that white as transparent. It kind of does automate. Again, Clip Studio has something like that as well, but it's built in for a program that's really made for animation production. And it's here. So yeah, look, now our lines are smooth. I can turn it off. It's jagged. Let's turn it on. Let's turn up the softness again. Bam. We got anti-aliasing. Again, you don't need After Effects. You can use free open source software. Please support them. I think projects like this are extremely important for all of us animators. So this is an interesting dilemma. It was a smaller image and it was resized. So it is anti-alias, but the original jagged lines weren't smoothed out initially. So it is anti-aliased. Let's show you here. And I can turn that off again to show you. Dang, no, this just is a funny, it's just resized. It's too big. That is fine though. We'll work with that. I will work with that. And I think that's a really cool way to show you guys how compositing can fix some things. I hope. I hope. I might have to redo this, but we'll see. This definitely wasn't, and anti-aliasing won't fix those jagged lines. It fixed these jagged lines because it's small, right? It's at the pixel. So I found this cool effect called Spectrum EWA. What it does is it kind of adds this gradient, which I thought I already had, but I think it upgrades it, and it kind of hides the edges as well because it's already blurred, but it adds kind of a hard edge to it, which is something I actually kind of want. So that's really cool. See, that's without it, and that's with the effect. And I can even change some of these effects here, like the gamma, the size, maybe. Hold on. Give it 1 maybe. That is pretty sweet. I'll play around with it, but I'll show you how we can, like the lens factor here, we can kind of make it move. You can also right click and hit preview. Bam! So we got it loaded up. So it just kind of, you saw the green, that was it kind of preloading, but we've got the preview preloaded. So you can just right click. Again, what's really nice about OpenTune's compositing, say in Harmony, you have to hit a display node and you have to kind of do it to every part and then switch to it. Here you can just preview, right click, preview, and it will pop up on its own. You can have multiple open if you want. So it makes it a lot easier. Things like that. It's like, wow, why isn't that in a paid program? But hey, Tunes was a paid program one time. Whoa, that looks pretty good. I really like that. Yeah. That's what's so cool about compositing. Sometimes you're just problem solving, you know. This is a really good way to problem solve. I'm really happy that there was this issue and we get to show that I fixed this issue. Yeah. Cool. I'll be back and kind of figuring out what to do. I'm just pausing my recording and just kind of figuring out, because otherwise it's just silence, man. Here's a great example of how to use the blending mode. So here it gives you foreground and background, and foreground will be what's overlaid. So in this case, it's that logo. I kind of want to have it burst and make it look like, you know, light. So we'll see how that looks. I don't know exactly how that looks right now, but I want everything to be affected by it. If I just put this here, it won't actually do anything, even though right now what this does, the over effects, is that it kind of overrides the layering system that you see in the timeline. And it creates its own layering system here, which will be the final output. It's extremely useful to have, and you find this kind of system in Blender, and I believe Nuke as well. So yeah, so I want this also to be affected, so I want the character to be affected specifically. So I have this. That's what I want. So I want also that to be affecting all of this. Well, what I can do is I can actually create another overnode, insert effect. So now this is everything, the background, which is a color card. Great. Okay, so that worked. So yeah, I was wrong at first. So source 3 is at the back. So this is on top, it's stacked. So this is on top and then it's on the bottom. Sometimes it's like my brain was working the other way. So I have these and I'm still adding it on top and this in the back just in case. But this is now affecting everything. So all of this in here, which is the character and the main effects with the gradient, is now, also here. So like it's affecting, being blended on. You can't just throw an add on top. So in Harmony, you can just throw an add and it will affect whatever's on top. Here you have to tell it, no, it's affecting these things. So it creates a mask. It's kind of like, you got to think of it almost like how you would have probably done it before computers in a way. And this is how you would expose it. So it's the same kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm creating an exposure and it's like I have the effect and then this is what's being affected. And then I'm just adding this. It's kind of a safety thing, I guess. I probably don't need it because I already have it stacked here, but it's the over effect is overriding the layering of here, if that makes sense. So that's what I have here. So I kind of have this burst going on now, which I think looks pretty cool. We'll see. I have it faded out. I have added a keyframe here. I've added a keyframe here, so it kind of shrinks down the ray effect. I haven't changed the color. We'll, go in and all right, so I did some extra stuff. I added more like blending modes on the overlay flashing like logo thing here. I also added, you'll see all these overnodes here, and that's just kind of me fiddling and hoping that things are blending properly, and I'm kind of working the effects. And then at the end here, you see that's the main scene, and then I added a light spot. And what a light spot looks like, it's like this. So they have it, you can draw and create a new layer, and then that layer is a drawing of some sort, and then you can add effects to it. But they also add already kind of pre-built light spot in here, which is really nice to have. So you can add lighting to it. It kind of has this light on the side, like it's like a ball circle that's like glowing. I don't know. You can change it around and stuff. It's quite hard like that. So like the edges. So I added a blur to it, which I think looks pretty cool. And I hope it will work. So it's exposed right at 14, and I'll probably have it like fade out like quickly, like a flash. We'll see how it works. I don't even think I want it maybe at the strongest, but I have the overnode, so it's sitting here above the whole scene. This is a really great way to kind of visualize how the overnode works. This is above everything else, and it's forcing it, and it will always be in the output over everything else. So now we can kind of see, this is what I love about like OpenTunes, is clicking the preview. You don't even have to use this main render area, and you might not want to. You might want to kind of figure things out and then look at the preview, because that will allow you to kind of allocate resources better and work faster. So bam, we can't see anything, so we have to add a blending mode. And this is again another great way to show you how the blending modes work compared to earlier. I will insert effect and I'll add a layer blending. Let's say add, I guess that'll get rid of everything, and then the scene will be everything in the background, and we can click preview. Boom. I like that. It's a big bright flashlight, but you can still kind of see everything else. You can still see the logo, and I'm gonna have the bright light fade out faster. But yeah, that's it's funny how things come along like that. All right, people, I think I got where I wanted to be, and I think it's looking pretty cool. What do you guys think? That looks pretty sick, guys. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. Yeah. Doing the video and doing compositing, that I had to add the lock-in effect, which I mentioned earlier in the video, but I forgot. So I kind of scrambled and was like, oh man, I got to do it. I rendered out the character only. If we look at the output here, just a character, nothing else, no background. And I rendered out the full thing that we saw earlier. So what I did was I took that character only and I added a slide. So this is where the OpenTunes effects, like the plugins, come in so handy, because I'm able to slide the image and it tiles itself. So I don't have to do it myself. I don't have to manually tile it. This is what I mean. It's manually tiled. So I'm able to move it around. So I already have it offset at the beginning, because just based on the references, it looked like that. So that's what I did. It seems to work. So then I just added a blur, a directional blur to it, and then I added a matte, and I created this circle. So I created a circle over top, and I added a blur to it. I was kind of working around what works, but I found a blur just ended up working the best. So I used that as a matte, and it cuts it out. Afterwards, I just added a vignette using the same circle as a matte. So here's a circle with the blur, and it's just wired into the brightness contrast of the image. So I just have the image overlaid, and it's just like I just added brightness contrast, and I have it animated in, because this frame on frame 14, it looked kind of bad with the the effect. It just had this like dark glow. It just didn't look good. But then I faded in next into it, as we saw. So yeah, that's everything here. So I'm super glad that it worked out really well. You just want to flatten your drawings. You want to flatten your comp. That's what you want to do. And I didn't have the head separated out or anything like that, so I had to kind of cheat it a little bit with this kind of circle and the vignetting and stuff. But that's what I did. So I think it works. I think it gets the kind of the meme across still very similarly. Also, he takes up so much of the frame, like, based on some of the references, it's like they're just very small in the frame, and it's like you have the character kind of panning behind himself, essentially, like it's a copy of the character, the duplicate, kind of panning, making that effect. So I hope you enjoyed kind of my process on all of this. I think this turned out really well. I'm gonna end up exporting everything and resizing it and doing what I need to do to deliver it, but I'm really, really satisfied. So yeah, it turned out really cool. A lot of it's a happy accident, but that's what's the fun part about art. And it's kind of like the Bob Ross motto, right? Like, you just keep going and see where it takes you. And this is the journey it took me. And I kind of had some ideas in mind. I saw some references, but I don't have a full scene where I can zoom in and out and add effects, and I'm on a limited time. So this is what I got, and I'm actually really, really happy with it. And I hope you guys are happy with kind of the way I thought about how to do this and my thought process, and seeing, we don't get to see a lot of behind the scenes on how compositing is done, and kind of the mindset behind doing an indie compositing, and kind of get a indie compositing, and seeing how someone can make a pipeline out of what a studio would do and make it work for an individual. And I hope this works for you. I'd be happy to answer questions if you have any in the comments. I'm super down for that. I'm very passionate about animation. So again, thank you so much. I'm rambling on here a little bit. I hope you enjoy, and like, comment, subscribe, and keep creating. See you in the next one.